Here we are again.
Yeah, good morning.
Happy Easter.
Yeah.
A little late.
I don't know what kind of noise an Easter bunny makes, but imagine I'm making it.
Yeah, and I'm not knowing what it is. Hey, we're Power and Speed, 908-751-0211.
And, well, if you haven't done it yet, just like us on Facebook and iTunes.
Tad, I don't appreciate your vigor on that
My
statement.
vigor?
Yeah, you actually sounded normal.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like Tad trying to be funny, because that doesn't usually work. But
No, I liked it.
My vigor?
I want people to
Damn it.
like to do the iTunes thing.
Yeah, I
Go
know.
in there and say something about it. That one bothers me. Facebook, I don't give a fuck.
I know you don't.
I don't care.
I know.
think
All right, so like us on iTunes, damn it.
Yeah, like us, rate us, do
Yeah,
something.
do something.
Yeah, rate us.
And even if you don't like it,
Rate us anyway.
now you've gone a little far.
All right.
Just slide back.
My
to
vigor went the other way?
your
Yeah.
sloth-like existence.
I like his vigor.
Kevin, who's listening, I'm going to dispatch you. See if you can find somebody to call in, because I was too busy today to call a friggin' person from the Drag Week perspective. I want to continue with the Drag Week stuff every week, and this was totally my fault. Kevin's got guys lined up from here till probably the day we arrive at the first track. He's got guys all over, but he has a gentleman that I was supposed to call today, Alex, and I just could not call him. It was hectic at best.
Same.
Yeah, I know Tom is always busy.
How about you, Ted? Were you busy
Yeah, at work I was.
making chips?
Basically. Sucked.
Yeah, what was that thing you were you machining a piece of tubing to get welded onto something else or something?
And it doesn't get welded. I was coping it. It's going to be mated to a 3-inch diameter polished bronze leg. And I make a little stud that goes in so it looks like it's mated.
Right.
Even though it's going to be steel to the bronze, and then a marble top gets on it that's coped, and it's for the artist lady that we do that work for.
All fancy shit.
Did you say
Yeah.
coping?
Coping.
Wow.
Coping.
I don't even know what that means.
So,
Hey, we got a piston on the desk.
yes, we do.
It looks coped.
It doesn't look coped. So we got a lot to talk about today. Oh, wait. No, he doesn't.
What?
No, we don't.
I
Fill
took
me in.
that. Well, let's start here. What's this you were telling me about today? Because that's disturbing.
It is disturbing. Well,
I mean, that when you told me,
I know.
if there is a level of accuracy to this statement, everybody listening to this should pay really close attention.
Yes.
Because this is pretty fucked up.
No doubt. So I get a call, and this is kind of a little bit old news, but not too old, that the EPA, and you were saying, like you were going, are we in a tunnel or something? I have a bad connection. Did you say the EPA? Yes, the EPA apparently, I was told, raided Cobb Tuning, which is not true. But anyway, I have ascertained that the EPA has gone into shops, and I think we talked about this like 10 shows ago. I heard about a guy in Arizona that they went.
Right, but not at the level you told me about today.
Right. So they apparently went to another guy who shall be nameless. Let's call him something.
Bob.
Mike
easy.
likes Bob. We're going with Bob. So Bob apparently had his records taken and gone over with a fine-tooth comb and had some number of fines levied that equal over $1 million.
Yes.
Because he gave someone, by selling them something, and I think I have this right. Anybody that wants to call and talk about it that has some knowledge, some real knowledge, if you're lying, we're going to send Ted out to do something bad to you. God almighty. I am so old.
What, did you have like a
I did.
senior moment?
Well, I just saw I just saw we got a call, and I lost my train of thought, because I'm like, wow, we have a call already.
Bro.
It's, to me, what's disturbing about this is it doesn't sound like, from the limited information we have. Now, this is pretty recent. This is not something that happened.
No, it's fairly recent.
Right. This sounds like it's suspiciously like, we went in, we rated your customer list. This is who we know that you did work for because you charged them for a tune.
Yep.
How far does this go?
It's terrible.
I mean, are they gonna actually go after the customers? And like, now we get into Tadland. I'm not driving my car without an inspection sticker.
Yep.
Because he thinks that the EPA is going to come lock him up.
Well,
No,
he might.
I think the cop that was sitting at the end of my street when I came home today.
well,
is
just
gonna
give
be
him a
pain.
ticket. Yeah. I mean, that's kind
A
of
ticket's a ticket. Most people that are men, Ted, we don't care.
Yeah, but you get more than one, you get two, you get three. Boom, you're done. You're in court.
I think they kill you
Yeah,
Really?
that too.
if you get 7.
Okay.
7. No,
All right,
nobody's made it that far.
All right. Anyway, but yeah, you're right. Where does it go? And you know, you remember what I said, you know, because I'm always so high on the government. I'm like, you know, how do they even know? Like, it's kind of conjecture what they're doing. Like, you know,
what we did talk about with DPA a while back was when they were going to reclassify race cars.
Yep.
Like what a race car really was.
Yep.
SEMA got involved.
Yep.
And they said, no, or like they questioned the EPA and then they clarified it.
Yep.
But now, if they tuned a car for a guy, like if this guy tuned a car, short of the EPA van and the black EPA helicopter circling overhead,
Yep.
how do you know that because they tuned that car and it's registered for the street, that guy is in fact using that tune on the street?
You don't.
What if he's got 2 ECUs?
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, the handhelds all have 2 tunes, 2 or 3. You have a lot of tunes, and you know who's to say?
Yeah, race tune, a street tune,
Right. As long as he's driving on street time
a street gas.
and street gas, that he's not using the street tune. I mean, can they make that illegal? I don't know. And furthermore, you know, said company, and I'm not going to say their name anymore, but I know for a fact that this company gets their tunes CARB approved. So yeah.
Well, remember way back when
Talk to him today.
they had
I'm giving the Micah's surprise look at Tom. That's why
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I just realized they did a Tad moment that didn't exactly fly across the.
That's why we need those.
Wait.
We need those cameras.
the FUD
the
hands.
FUD moment.
The FUD handshake.
Remember they used to have test pipes. You take your cat off, you put on your test pipe.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Well,
That
they
was
did
weird.
make
Yeah.
those illegal.
Right.
Which to me is insane. How could you make something illegal if it's marketed purpose? Because they made it too
For a
easy.
test, yeah.
But this comes into a whole nother thing. Who does the EPA answer to? Because I've always heard
Yeah.
kind of no one.
Yeah,
Basically.
that's the problem.
It's one of them government
That is-
agencies.
That is the problem. And we were talking about it before. Like, first of all, they don't answer to anybody. And second of all, they suck.
Yeah,
All government sucks at everything they do.
for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
I just say post office. That's the big one I go to.
I don't know enough about that, Dad. And you're right. UPS and FedEx make money. The post office doesn't.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter how, if they lose a penny.
Just from our Netflix, they got to be making money. But anyway,
No, I mean, if they lose a penny a year, they're losing money.
True.
I mean,
how you look at
UPS has a fleet of aircraft, you know, huge. FedEx does.
Yep.
DHL, they all make big money, and they employ a ton of people. They pay them well. They take care of them. And our post office is a joke.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if the EPA, the thing that I would worry about, if they don't answer to anyone, and let's say their funding has been cut back
Yep.
because of the recent election results, does that make them more likely to be aggressive in areas that nobody would ever complain about? Or maybe perhaps areas that the people don't have the financial ability to fight back?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would think that if you take funding away, they would have less time to do. See, like I told you before, I think they get into this shit because there's, you know, I don't know how many people are at the EPA. Like, let's just make up numbers. Let's say there's 1 million.
Okay.
And
It's probably a little high, but
no, it probably isn't. But let's say it's a half
across
million.
the country, you know, but
Let's say it's 1 million, just for round numbers. The country probably needs 200,000 of them. So there's 800,000 people that
cashing a paycheck.
they're cashing a paycheck and they need something to do. So you get 3 people that say, "Hey, we're going to try to get a raise. Let's go look at, you know, I was talking.
it's the board cop.
Yeah.
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 They're making a problem.
exactly.
They're making a problem to keep their job.
Right. Right. And, you know, because they had a conversation with some guy at a family function who's got a Volkswagen GTI that, you know, makes 400 horsepower.
That DSM.
Well, how'd you do that? Well, I got this tuner thing. And well, what kind of tuner thing? Well, it's a thing that lets you do this and that. And the bell goes off in his head. It's like, wow, I'm going to be a hero. That's not far-fetched.
My name's going to be up on the wall.
Yeah, I'm going to get a gold star. Is that far-fetched?
No, it's not far-fetched, but the people that make the commercial products.
Yep.
Like does Hypertech, or, and I mean, that's
Diablo Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all those programs that they make, are they allowed to put race-only programs if they say race-only?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, don't they normally, this is for off-road use only? BS. They always give you that.
Well, yeah, they can do
but
that.
I don't know. It almost appears like that doesn't really insulate you enough.
Yeah.
No.
That like they can't do that.
Well, that's the ignorance to the law thing. It's not a defense. But I did ascertain that in most cases, the tuning companies cannot make the car better with regard to emissions, but they can certainly make the performance better without changing the emissions. And they work on that.
Yeah.
Like, it's on their radar. They don't just haphazardly go into a map and say, okay, well, we're going to make this much power, so we have to add this much timing, this much fuel, and we don't care what it's going to do.
You mean these are the people that are trying to do it legit, like offer an EPA, a carb exempt?
Yeah, like the Diablo Sports of the world.
Right.
Which is not who I talk to, but,
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, because what we talked about today is could raising the efficiency level of the engine. Like Matt last week, Matt Blasco, he said that he's made his mileage in his car ridiculously good.
Right.
But I'm relatively sure that mileage would probably also come at a cost for some kind of emissions. Like there's probably a reason that doesn't balance out.
Yeah, but I don't know. Let's think about that. How do you make something more fuel efficient and make it more pollutant rich?
Well, this is for people way smarter than us, like Fred, of course.
Well,
We're talking about NOx or,
Yeah, well, you got NOx and all this,
Yeah, but if you're completing a burn more, how can you create more pollutant?
There's more to it than that. I know there's more to it than that.
There probably is.
But I agree with you.
My world doesn't want it to be more than that.
Can I say we're doing a big commercial here for Tesla? I mean,
oh God, golf carts.
If
we should get them.
Yeah, actually.
Oh yeah, because
Elon
I
Musk.
haven't said too much bad shit about that. Just like Dave ruined Edelbrock.
Elon, call in.
Yeah,
I've pretty much ruined any chance of Tesla. You and your glorified golf carts.
Yep.
I would tend to think that when you burn more air and fuel, there's quantity, there's NOx's, there's carbon, I guess, monoxide. There's much more than they looked at that they look at now than they used to.
Who would know this? Who could we talk to?
I don't know. I'm betting Paul Yaw would.
He probably would.
I'm betting he'd know more about that. And that goes back to the conversation that you had the other day about the ice cream scoop or whatever.
Yeah.
In the piston.
Yeah.
Initial startup. I mean, if they're worried about that, the first, 2 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
I can't imagine that a tuner is going to be able to do what GM could do there.
I would agree.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's pretty damn creepy if the EPA is going to come after you because you got a tune in your car.
Well, think about the percent. We should start looking at percentages of cars and percentages of people. And I mean, can it really make a difference? Seriously. And you know what else? Sadly, if somebody got with the Diablo Sports of the world from the EPA and said, listen, we're going to let you do whatever you want as long as you pay us carbon tax, then it would be okay all of a sudden. So how the fuck does that work?
You're probably right.
Yeah.
It probably would be okay.
I know. So it's always about money.
I wonder if Scott North is on. He's one of those guys from the other side. I don't see him on there.
He's from the other side. He's tinfoil hat guy?
Not tinfoil hat guy, but like
liberal guy.
Yeah. I didn't want to,
Hey, by the way, somebody wait, I got to bring this up. I have to.
Okay.
Somebody's going to hate me. So when you were down at the building, I was telling Tad, I've been getting, a lot of friend requests on my new Facebook because my personal, I was denying.
Oh, here we go.
So, and I've been taking everybody, but one guy, and I forget his name, and I hope he's listening, and it's just a joke, but he looks like a regular guy. He's a car guy, but his picture on his Facebook is him laying back with like a Siamese cat on his stomach, and it's the cat's face.
Okay.
And I couldn't accept it because it's like a cat guy or something. That'd be like accepting some cat lady. Is that wrong?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think the cat thing's that bad. I thought you were going to tell me his profile picture was like Hillary Clinton or something, and you blasted him.
No, I just would have done that. I would have blocked him. No, he's sitting there. He's sitting on my thing, ready to. I just kind of wanted to make fun of him with the cat. Like,
That's real nice.
it was if it was a bulldog or something, it'd have been cool. But it's a friggin' Siamese cat.
Well, you know who did, and I don't want to pick on him. I mean, after his guidance system mishap, Fudd seemed to have a lot of information.
Wait a minute.
On cats, what?
What guidance system is?
Well, we finally figured out where he's working. He's working for the North Koreans.
Oh,
yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He knew an awful lot about what industries and what stuff produced emissions, or carbon or greenhouse gases or whatever. And I fact checked him, so he was right. But I didn't care that much, so I didn't really remember it.
Okay.
But he did know where a lot of it came from, and I think a large portion of it does come from automobiles. And that's
I'm sure it does.
yeah.
Is it wrong rod bolt weights or?
But wait a minute. What automobiles where and like in China and in India?
Well, I'm sure it's like places like Mumbai.
Of course, it is.
like where they're driving around some kind of three-wheeled
If you-
Reliant Robin or something.
I heard China's starting to tighten things up, but India. I think,
Well, they
still
have
whatever.
to. China
Yeah.
has to because you can't see there.
Yeah, they're going to destroy the world. With the amount of people they have there.
True.
Where's that Korea?
Settle
That's going
down,
to
Ted.
destroy the world. Yeah.
Settle down, Ted.
Yeah, he's throwing us off now. What are you talking so much for? No, I like it actually. Where were we? Yeah, so I don't know.
But the sliver of population that does what we would do to a car,
That was my
it
point.
has to be
It's
infinitesimal.
tiny. Yeah. Good
It
word.
has to be.
Good
Especially
word.
with the fear of voiding your warranty, or something like that.
Well, I mean, honestly, that does for me.
Most of the men don't care about that.
Yeah, Tad does.
Sally.
Tom doesn't. Tad doesn't. I did.
When I get my demon,
Hey, Jason Harding.
Yes.
He says he can answer our EPA question. Dude, call in. Call right now if you want.
you don't work for the EPA. You have to tell us if you do.
He's awesome.
What is with him today?
I don't know. He must have ate his Wheaties or something.
I'm sorry. I watched Super Troopers.
908-751-0211. Jay, call in. Here you go.
All right, let me grab him. And we know Chris is there, but he'll have to.
We got to ask him other questions too, by the way.
Yeah, we do.
We could ask him valve train.
Yeah, we could probably.
You were just talking about lifters. You were talking about spring pressure.
Those motors are so stupid.
He said he's our go-to. He's our
know.
go-to guy.
There's just things about these motors that I don't have a warm fuzzy about, just from where I came from. That's
Jay,
all.
you're on, man. Thanks.
What's up, guys?
I didn't think you, damn it, and I apologize. But I'm going to blame it on Mike because he didn't think it either.
No problem.
You must deal with this all the time,
Got a lot
right?
of experience in that area.
Okay. Where are we going wrong here?
So, what do you want to know exactly?
Well, I'm not going to say the company's name again because I know a lot of guys there, but a company in Texas somebody said on the internet, which is always true, as you know.
Oh yeah.
Said they were rated by the EPA, which they were in fact not, from what I gathered. But I did hear that a bunch of their customers, and at least one for sure, was visited by the EPA and potentially fined for selling some handhelds because they were allowing people to tamper with emission controls.
Recently?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently one guy's got over $1 million in fines. Now, he didn't call me. He's a customer, so I'm not going to say his name, obviously, but I'm going to talk to him. And it doesn't seem like that's true either because he's still on the internet, advertising and tuning cars and everything. But it is still scary that the EPA can have this kind of outreach for kind of no reason.
Just for the heck of it.
So what kind of restrictions did they put on? Have you guys had any experience with them?
We did get looked at back in 2007,
Oh, wow.
and their hot button at that time was catalytic converters. So they were really interested in exhaust systems, headers going on cars.
Okay.
So it's against the Clean Air Act of 1991 to remove factory catalytic converters unless they are failing. And you can only replace them with factory catalytic converters within the 8-year, 80,000-mile emissions warranty. After that, you can replace them with aftermarket converters, but they need to be vehicle-specific. The converters that you get on a header system are race cats. They're not a vehicle-specific OEM replacement converter. You also can't move the converter. So long tube headers that move it down into the X pipe are changing the distance between the converter and the exhaust port. So that's against the rules. So, I mean, you can't even change it unless it's failing. So you get a 2016 Z06 in the shop and you want to put headers on it, you can't remove the cats. So that's as long as it's a registered street car in the United States. And I tell people this all the time, and they're like, well, how come everybody else does it? Well, they're not getting caught. They're not getting looked at. And it just blows people's mind what some of these rules are that they don't realize. And it's a $35,000 fine per vehicle, and the EPA has the power to just put a lock on your door and shut down your shop.
Now, were they, it's Mike, Jason, were they looking at you from the manufacturer's perspective or the installer's perspective? No, what was it?
The installer's perspective.
Really?
So the onus is on the installer. So your header manufacturer can make headers, and they can sell them for race cars, but the onus is on the installer. Just like any local muffler shop would get in trouble for cutting the cats off a car because they're clogged or something. A performance shop can get in the same trouble for removing the factory cats and putting on headers even with cats.
Hey, Jay, have you guys, we should introduce him too. Sorry, this is Jason Harding from Katech, who's kind enough to let us know he knows something. Yeah, I know. Have you guys ever done any testing with regard to emissions? I mean, because I'm assuming that the EPA comes in and, I always assume the worst about the government, and it's a money grab always. And even if you're doing your best and working as hard as you can to not affect the emissions, which is very possible, they don't care, right?
True. Yeah, it's been my experience that they don't care whether it's clean or not. They care whether their law is technically being broken, and it's hard to play by their rules. We tried to get a CARB certification for a crate engine once that we were developing for a specific car, and we went to CARB to try and get an EO on the crate engine, and we were using an aftermarket block, and they considered that repowering because you can't change the block part number. There was some issues back in the 90s where people were importing Japanese cars that did not meet U.S. emissions, and they were trying to put Japanese engines into American cars,
right?
Like back in the Supra days and
JDM.
Yep.
Yeah, JDM.
Yep.
And that's considered repowering. There's also issues with swapping like diesel engines and gasoline cars, trucks, and that sort of thing. So since we were changing the block part number, that's how they define whether it's a new engine or not, the block part number. And they consider that repowering, and they said don't even waste your money trying to get a CARB EO because it doesn't fit into our rules. They didn't care whether the tailpipe emissions were clean or not.
So, but how can that fly? I'm saying, how can we let that fly?
Well, I don't think we have a lot of choice, and I don't think they answer to anybody.
They just don't understand. They want
it
their
even
way.
seems like when branches of the government tell them, "Hey, knock it off," they're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
It takes literally, I guess, probably an act of Congress to change their behavior.
We got to do something.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're
Congress.
Rise up.
Maybe Trump will listen.
A bunch of unelected officials that have incredible power.
Yeah, we got to fix that.
And no brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's no government agency that really has oversight, or let's say authoritative agency that has oversight over the EPA, and I think I've heard this many times, that the EPA kind of doesn't really report to anybody, that they do what they want to do. It's almost like the IRS, that they do what they want to do.
We attempted to get a CARB on a product, an air intake system. And if you remember, the C6Z06 has hydrocarbon absorbing pads in the airbox. So we actually went to the manufacturer that made the hydrocarbon traps for GM, got those and put them in the airbox. And they they wanted to see 100,000-mile test to make sure that those were not going to come unglued from the aftermarket airbox. Now, we were working with a small aftermarket air intake system company. They didn't have the means to purchase a car, drive it 100,000 miles, and make sure these stickers didn't come off.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And they don't care. That's the thing that gets me. They just don't care.
So yeah, you try and play by the rules even, and you can't get carb EO. The only thing I'm seeing carb EOs now are on supercharger systems.
Yeah, well, there are some handhelds too that are getting them, or some tunes.
But doesn't that sound a little bizarre that like a guy can get a supercharged system through? I mean, I'm sorry. I know that people would argue, well, if you're not using the supercharger, if you're just driving, you don't affect basic emissions. But I'm sure the EPA must worry about wide open throttle, don't they?
Yeah, but the amount of time you spend at it, I think that they just
I don't think they've made any such provision that, well, if you're only at wide open throttle.
I don't think they care about any of it.
You think it's all money?
I think what I said before, if Diablo Sport had a problem and the EPA said, you know what, if you're willing to pay our carbon tax, we can make this thing work.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet money on that.
All those hippies out there.
Jay, your thoughts? Carbon tax?
Yeah, that would be an easier way, but I don't think that they really care about collecting a carbon tax. They care about enforcing their laws and passing more and more.
I don't know. I think they would care about the carbon tax.
Happened to I mentioned in the chat room what happened to Casper's Electronics many years ago, where they were making the O2 sensor simulator.
Yeah, I read that.
Downstream O2s. Yeah, and they got fined $75,000 by the EPA, which could have been a lot worse based on the number that they have sold. But the EPA wants you to fine you enough that you can pay, but not so much that you go out of business.
But see, that's again where I have the problem. They fined these people for making something that they clearly stated was not for road use. That's not what it was for. You put this on your car if you're going to go to the racetrack, you're going to take your cats off, whatever. Why? So you can't. This isn't drug paraphernalia. Well, this isn't like you're making a crack pipe. I mean, I can't even understand this
because they don't care. And actually, in fairness, the O2 simulators, which was genius, by the way.
Yeah.
You can't really blame them for getting all pissed off about that.
No, I kind of can, because look, a crack pipe. Is there any legitimate legal use you can think of for a crack pipe?
No.
Okay. Is there a legitimate legal use for an O2 stimulator?
No, simulator. No.
Simulator?
Simulator. Yeah.
No, there's not. I mean, it's a box that you plug in your O2 inputs in, and it tells your computer that your O2s are fine.
What if you're racing? There's no reason for that? Because I know that for me, if I was going to take the cat pipes out of the car, you needed that thing to not give you bad numbers. Am I correct, Jason?
Correct, unless you were to tune it, in the PCM.
Yeah, I mean the
way people are doing it now.
Right.
Technically, even an engine calibration is changing the emissions parameters beyond what was tested by the EPA from the factory. So they could crack down even harder if they wanted to. And have you seen the RPM Act that's in Congress now?
No.
Protect our race cars?
Yes.
Okay.
You guys got to check this out. So the EPA has reached even further and said that it is against current regulations, not new regulations that they're trying to pass, against current regulations to take a car that was originally made for street and turn it into a race car. So even if you take your license plate off, turn it into a race car, that is no longer legal according to the EPA.
We got to do something about this.
We got some Congress members who are trying to fight that. SEMA has been working very hard.
Yes, they have.
To protect our race cars. But, I mean, that takes away all grassroots drag racing, road racing, dirt racing, and basically only leaves tube frame, purpose-built race cars.
But isn't that what the EPA clarified, that they weren't changing? So now they're saying that the rules that were on the books already established this? Is that what's going on? That, like, you can't convert a street car into a race car, period?
Right. They say that that's already rules on the books, that you can't do that.
Well, it's all crazy. And
So
they have to
listeners, make sure you go to SEMA and support the RPM Act. I'm not sure if they still have signatures, but they're still fighting this, and we have some Congress members who are fighting it for us too. So hopefully that will go through with this administration.
Yeah, it is important. That's real important. Well, you cleared some of that stuff up. Mike has some questions for you about LS specific stuff. If you're up to the task.
There's so many things here. I mean, this is kind of funny, but I mean, if you're a small block Chevy guy and you've never taken one of these things apart before, it's like you're taking apart a motor that's a foreign car motor. You know, you're looking at stuff. I mean, yeah, okay, it's got a push rod, it's got a rocker, it's all common stuff. But things like it should work, I guess. But like the rockers are bolted down with, well, what isn't a 5/16 bolt? I guess it's an 8. So everything's metric now.
8 millimeter.
But like a rocker is bolted down with an 8 millimeter bolt. That's okay. Like they survive the way they sit.
They do.
Well, they're.
Oh yeah, we use production rocker arms and bolts on almost everything.
Do you get to a point where there's a limit with that? Like where you say, okay, look, now, I mean, obviously we're talking about hydraulic roller stuff. I mean, it just, and I know that some of this just comes at me trying to get away from, you know, previous experience, like with a standard Chevrolet. Now, I know it's a little different because in a standard Chevy in a stud mount, the rocker rides up on the stud. It's not physically bolted down. But I mean, these are just the things that I've seen that are goofy. And like we talked about the oil pump situation, and there's another thing from the build perspective. How are these things with idle oil pressure when you put in what I would consider like normal clearances? Like I know you guys have a couple better pumps, which I think are something I definitely want to look at. But like, how do they respond to clearance?
Well, I put this. You probably only need about 10 psi of oil pressure at idle to protect the engine. Now that's not what we look for, but a lot of cars have, 20 psi, and that's perfectly fine. Back to your rocker arm question, it really goes back to our Spintron testing. A lot of people tend to overspring these engines, thinking heavier springs are better at controlling the valve. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time in our Spintron test cell to develop cam packages that are stable and durable. And typically, you want the lightest spring possible that still controls the valve. And the only way to figure that out is through valve train dynamics testing. So we tend to use a lot lighter springs on hydraulic roller packages than most other shops and people would. So we don't have the strains on production rocker arms and bolts that maybe other people do. We've never broken a rocker bolt or pulled it out or anything like that, to my knowledge. The heavier stuff, like from the C5R race engines that had a heavier spring pressure, use Jessel, shaft mount rockers. So that stuff tend to have heavier duty parts in the valve train. But when we were on 24 Hours Daytona with the stock valve train and LS3s, no problem. Stock rocker arms and hydraulic roller lifters.
Do you do the trunnion upgrade?
No, we've never failed a production rocker arm.
Wow.
So cool. we keep GM LS3 rocker arms. There was a small batch problem in LS7s in 2007 where needle bearings were coming out. Mm-hmm. That was just a factory defect batch problem. So if you have a 2007 LS7, I recommend replacing them, but only with production rocker arms.
Okay, really? So like these aftermarket trunnions and new needle bearings and everything else, not worth it. Like you guys wouldn't do it.
We don't think they're necessary, and in fact, some brands we've actually seen fail. So keep it simple, keep the stock rocker arms, and you'll be fine.
Wow. Okay.
Good info.
Very good info.
I like it.
Like I told you, it looked to me like the rocker was nicely designed. It looked like there was thought put into it.
Wait a minute. Who's talking right now?
Yeah,
you called me and said the stuff looked like a joke.
Yeah, because it's bolted down with a 5/16 bolt, Dick. I'm not talking about how I even said the rocker looks nice.
Yeah, I know you did.
So it looks like something that a valve train company would make. And this goes back to what you were saying, that the manufacturers, they know their stuff. They put time in.
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Other questions. How about from the fastener side? And this will specifically interest a couple people right now. Main bolts change over to ARP studs, factory bolts, kind of good enough. Do you get to a point where you say no good?
We use typically ARP main studs on the race stuff. A lot of production, the street stuff gets stock bolts. Never really had many issues there. We've always made Katech billet main caps for LS1, 2, 6 engines. So we have a doweled main cap that we use for track stuff. That's a billet cap. You know, we machine the dowels for it, and it's no longer located on the side registers. In that case, it's doweled. But yeah, most of the race stuff gets ARP.
Okay.
Studs, head studs.
Does it? Do they move the bores around? I mean, you got to hone them after
When doing the
mains.
The main caps?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you install our billet main caps, you have to align bore and hone.
No. Yeah, I'm sure of that. I'm talking about the fasteners. Just changing fasteners.
Just fasteners only? I don't think so. I mean, we typically line hone race stuff anyway.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. That's good information. So
You taking notes,
I don't need notes.
Tad?
It's stuff out of my.
Don't need notes at all.
I'm a Subaru guy. What's this matter to me?
That's true. That's true.
Trying to think what other things I've run into with this thing, taking it apart.
That heat
I think
thing.
you were asking at one point about what lifters to run, hydraulic lifters.
Yeah. There's another good question, because this motor, I got to post a picture of this. The one I took apart, it is a nasty ass looking motor. Like it's terrible.
Well, didn't Matt say that? It's like, you should take it apart in the dark so you're not shocked.
Yeah, it's horrible. It looks like it has 500,000 miles on it. So I mean, it is a pretty crappy motor. So yeah, the lifters, I mean, they're all in the garbage can. I wasn't keeping them. So what do you think about lifters?
We've been using a lot of the GM high-speed lifters, the ceramic check ball lifters. We actually developed those with GM for Cadillac Racing. And then they ended up in the GM Performance Parts catalog. So we use those in most of our street and track day stuff that uses OEM-style valve train. Some people have complained about failures online, but we never fail them, probably because we do spin-tron testing of our cam packages and make sure it's stable and not beating up the lifter.
Okay. Yeah, because what I had seen is people saying get a set of LS7s, and my LS7 is the noisiest. It sounds like a piece of shit half the time.
Yeah,
I hate it, and it's all valve train related, and I don't know what it is. And it's the second motor that sounded this way, so it's not like it wasn't unique. This is just some of them, I guess, are rattly. But they said, reading online. I saw LS7 lifters and buy a set, but now knowing that, I'm going to look into those lifters too. That's probably it.
That's what everybody's using, mostly LS7 lifters. The GM high-speed lifters are just LS7 lifters with a ceramic check ball put in, so they're a little lighter.
Okay.
Is that like they call it the CTSV lifter?
Yeah, they've been called that too, yeah.
Okay.
I'm amazed that
racing lifters.
Like some of this, real high-profile race stuff uses the factory stuff.
We should get a cam package from them.
They probably have something
that's all spun up and everything.
Yeah.
Is spun a word?
Spunded?
Yeah, we developed those lifters for a race program that went in the Cadillac CTSVRs that raced in World Challenge. So the first year those were out, GM had us develop a short stroke, high revving 5.7 liter LS7. And we spin-tron tested that to 8,400 RPM. And it was red line about 8,000. So the first race it ever competed in, there were two Cadillacs, and Andy Pilgrim stalled it on the start, so the whole field passed him. And he picked his way through the field and passed every car there except for the other Cadillac, and they finished 1-2 in the first race they ever competed in. And then the sanctioning body slapped restrictions on us.
Of course.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, when I see that stuff go on, it makes me crazy, because it's like you can't, look, we want you to be competitive. We want you to win races. We want you to run well, but not that well. And it's frustrating. Like, it does suck.
That kind of negated the purpose of a high revving, short stroke, bigger bore engine.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, there was something. Jay, he found some kind of heat sensor on the engine. Do you know anything about these things? Like it seems like a warranty thing. Like if you overheat it, is that a factory thing? Have you ever seen?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
All right, they're these little buttons. They get like epoxied on a head. It's not in the head; it's on the back side of the head. That like if the button melts away or falls off, that means that the car got hot. Like engine rebuilders services used to use them, but this is out of a truck, dude. I don't know how many truck motors this guy sees.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, not many trucks. We're doing a lot of LS3 stuff these days, LS7, and new LT1, LT4.
Okay. All right. What else? How about that the thing they call the barbell, which like it looks to me like it's just an oil diverter to make sure that oil goes through the filter, correct?
Right.
Okay. Anything in particular to worry about in that little area? Like, is there, you look again, I encourage everyone, don't do what I did and try to find answers on LS1 Tech, because there's a lot of idiots there. A lot. It looked like people were saying that this thing should be replaced with something that fits better. Is that true?
No, we just replace them with GM parts.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
They can get kind of coked up with oil over time when they're higher mileage engines.
Yeah.
You're going to be building a new engine, washing the block, just put a new one in.
Got it. Regular GM.
Nitro Scott said he did a 5.3 engine the other day out of a truck, and it had him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. All right, that's good, because I saw that today, and when I was looking at the
Scott
parts.
North?
Yeah, actually, it is.
Ah.
Go Hillary Clinton.
What's up, Libby?
No.
Oh no, Bernie Sanders. That's he's
God.
a Sanders guy.
Sorry.
Yeah, when I took that motor apart today, when I was waiting for you to come down to the building, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the head, and I see that heat dot on the back, and I'm like, oh shit. I don't know where these things came from. They came out of a truck. They could have been rebuilt twice for all I know.
It's all right.
Okay. Well, look, we're gonna have to talk to Jason off air and see about.
Yeah, I wrote a note. I got to call him tomorrow anyway about Dubai.
Might want to talk about main caps.
Okay.
Might not be a bad idea for the power level this thing's going to make.
Okay.
I don't
What kind of block are you using?
6 liter iron block.
Okay. All right, so iron is a lot stronger, so wouldn't hurt to have billet main caps on there, but at least you don't have to worry about the deflection of the bottom end.
Well, there's a really good question. What happens with like the aluminum cases? Like, where do you run out of block? I mean, because this thing is going to be a solid like 85 to 100 pounds heavier. Is there a location that you get to, like a horsepower number you could kind of clearly define, controlled horsepower, like nicely made, where they start to get funny?
Yeah, like over 1,000 horsepower, we're switching over to an RHS block. Even earlier than that, actually, as a precaution. But over 1,000, you start to see cylinder heads lifting. So we're looking for a 6-bolt block at that point. You don't want to run an LS7 block that high because of material behind the cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Be thin at that point. So boosted LS7 based stuff, we're running RHS block.
Okay.
Because we want the 6-bolt heads too. So
yeah, I wanted all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you would be really well off with an LSX block if you're iron anyway, because then you do have the 6-bolt heads.
Well, the problem with the LSX block and being iron is it's another 100 on top of the iron block.
It's like a Dart big block.
Yeah, I think they're 228 pounds or some shit.
Yep.
Yeah, they're
They
heavy.
should be, I think, 75 pounds over an LS7 block.
We thought
Much heavier than a truck iron block.
I don't know. We had heard that they were.
The architecture is pretty much the same.
Oh, I'll have to take a look.
I think there's a lot more weight in them.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I'll look and I'll make sure.
In special areas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm sure you got a lot more questions that are going to come up here.
Well, we'll get them again. Jay, I got to call you tomorrow about the Dubai thing. I just got back from there.
Sure. Yeah.
So, a lot of info and a lot of stuff to talk about.
What do you guys got going on over there, Jason? Anything new? Anything?
Oh man, we're probably, this is our busiest spring ever. We got a shop packed full of C7s. I just drove home a 2017 Camaro SS1LE that we did a head and cam package on, testing that out tonight. So took that home. Got several C7 Z06s doing our stage 3 package, which is 800 horsepower. Got a Dodge Challenger that we're doing a Viper V10 with a Pro Charger on it. That's at the body shop right now. Got
no demons yet?
No, we don't usually do Dodge stuff, but this customer local and kind of wanted this custom project, so we took it on a while back. So it's getting close to finishing now. Just picked up a 2016 Z06 C7R edition that we're turning into a track car with a big wing and big under tray, splitter, heat exchanger system, stage 3 engine package. It's really loaded up. That's gonna be really cool. C6 ZR1 in the shop, getting our stage 2 package and some heat exchangers for road race use. It's already got a big wing on it. So yeah, shop full of stuff. Lots of pictures on our Instagram, Katech_Inc. If you want to check it out.
All right, perfect. And how can anybody get in touch with you guys? Website, phone numbers, the whole deal.
KatechEngines.com, Instagram and Facebook. Search Katech will come up. 866-KTech1 is our phone number. You can email me, jason@KatechEngines.com.
Cool. Jay, we definitely appreciate the help. You know, we like it that you're kind of our on-call LS guy. It's awesome.
I like the stock rockers are good enough.
Yeah. All right, we got some callers we got to get to. So again, we appreciate it, and I'll be giving you a call tomorrow.
Okay, talk to you then.
Thanks,
bro.
Jason.
Thanks.
See ya.
Yep, bye.
You know, people don't know. I talked about this last time. If you don't know who Katech is, and you think that's just some guy, Jason,
look it up.
Yeah.
You might want to look up Katech. And when he's talking about CTSVs, he's not talking about the guy that went driving around the block or went to the local road race club. He's talking about
that won it.
The ones that won 24 hours of Daytona.
Yeah, 24 hours of Daytona, 24-hour Le Mans, you know, that kind of CTSV.
But like he says, he has a Spintron in the shop, so that's enough said.
Yeah, they're the real deal.
And when they say they're doing things like they're building a car, they can. I mean, they're a complete
right. They're building
prototype.
They're building a car.
GM takes notice. So
yeah, they're the right guys to talk to. Well, that's really amazing about those rockers.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I did put a post up from dragzine.com where in Australia one of the guys went 7s and he split his block in half.
Yeah, I saw people jump all over you because it ain't an LS, it's a Holden.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't have LSs down here. I was like, that's my point. It's like our LSs are in the 7s repeatedly out of a junkyard. You know, hey, whatever.
I don't
bring
know.
it up.
I don't know.
Tad, you're doing good, man.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's talking today.
Now, now the worst thing is we have a guy on here that I wanted to talk to.
I don't even know who it is.
Guy's name is Alex.
Oh, and
Alex had, you know, Kevin, our resident Drag Week, I guess we'll call him representative or a public relation agent, had a whole bunch of people lined up. But yesterday being Easter, today being a Monday, to top everything off, made picking up the telephone for 30 seconds almost impossible. So, Alex, man, sorry to introduce you this way, but I don't know a damn thing about you.
No worries. I don't know a damn thing about myself either.
Where are you from, first off?
I'm from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Oof. Okay, nice. So you're not another Canadian, eh? We've had 3 Canadians so far.
No. I'm just a regular Florida guy.
All right, man.
I don't know anything about LSs, though.
No? What?
I can't interject on your conversations.
All right, well, let's start here. Let's tell us about your ride. Tell us about what you're going to Drag Week with, what class you're in. You know, give us a little bit of background since I don't really have any of it.
Okay, no problem. I got a 93 Fox body Mustang with a Ford motor in it. I did my first Drag Week was last year. I've had it like 10 years. About 10 years it started stock, and little by little I've been building it up. Used to be a Chevy guy. My first car was a Pontiac, actually, a TA. And then I switched over to the Ford family. So ever since then, I've had that Mustang. It's a turbo, a single turbo with a power glide. I run in street race small block power header, just like you guys. Same class.
Fantastic. Seems like everybody I talk to, that is the class they're in. Christ.
Yes, I mean I couldn't fit myself anywhere else. So, I read the rules 10 times. I read it over and over, and I always find something new. And street race was the class to join. It was either that or super street, but I wouldn't be able to compete anywhere near those guys.
Yeah, that's the other problem. There's a big jump, and I guess from everything I've read, because I am the drag week newbie here, the rules are good for 3 years. So they're going to change them, or they're going to revise them. And I wonder what that's going to do to who runs where.
They might. They shift. Sometimes they add more class. Sometimes they add a class. Sometimes they move stuff around. You could even put in a request to change something in the class that you're in. And I believe it's next year when the revisions are.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly.
So what made you go to the first one? I mean, did you just?
Oh, I've been watching. I've been watching for the past 3 or 4 years on the live feed. I've always wanted to do it with my car. The only problem is there was always something on my car that I needed to fix or get it prepared, or something that should be able to handle the 1,200-mile trip. And I didn't feel like I was comfortable yet. And then last year was the year I said, that's it, I'm doing it. Which turned out to be a nightmare.
Yeah, how was your whole drag week experience? Tell us.
It was great. I got lucky, knock on wood. I had a flat tire on the last day. I had a radiator cap go out on the last day, and I had some fuel pump issues early on in the beginning, which we figured out, and that was it. Now, leading up to drag week, that was horrible. That was a shit show. I was about to throw in the towel the week before. The week before Labor Day weekend, I had the K member down on the car with the oil pan off, and we were trying to figure out why I keep eating up thrust bearings. And this was like 5 days before me loading up the car on the trailer and going to drag week.
Oh, geez. So you had the thing apart that close to drag week.
Yes. Like I had spent the summer testing the car, and then little by little I noticed I was having some issues where I would lose oil pressure. And my tuner kept telling me, man, something's going on, something's not right. And then finally, sometime in the summer, I lost complete oil pressure after a pass. And, after inspecting everything, I chewed up the crank and the block. So in the middle, like in August, I had to send the motor back to the engine builder and, get a new block, get a new crank, put everything back in. And then we still couldn't figure out what the problem was. Luckily, after we got it running towards the end of August, I did a couple of dyno runs, and then we checked the thrust, and we saw that it was going out again, and then we caught it early. That's when, Labor Day weekend is when we were sitting there with the oil pan out, and I was getting ready to throw in the towel, but my buddy, the guy Willie, who went on drag week with me, he's like, hey, that's it, let's go, let's take it apart, let's do this, I was about to quit right there.
Well, what did the problem end up being? What did you find?
Well, what we found was that the converter, the pilot of the converter was touching the back of the crank. We had the right converter clearance. When you check the clearance to the flex plate, you're supposed to have a certain number. But inside, the pilot was right up against the crank. And we couldn't, everything was the same. My old motor had the same crank. It was the same block. It's the same converter I've used for the past 6 years. This is the same car I've been running for 6 years. It's just a rebuilt motor, And, the only thing we could think of was that the design of the crank that I put on different than the one that I had for the past 6 years. So we modified the converter once we caught the problem, which was Labor Day weekend, and then put everything together and put the car on the trailer, and I went to drag week. Crossed my fingers that it wasn't going to chew up a thrust bearing again. That's pretty much what happened. My first test pass was Sunday registration in drag week.
How fast has the car gone?
I did an 860 average in drag week. Recently I went 833 after I had some valve flow issues, and I changed the valve springs, and the car picked up. So I went 833, and now I'm probably going to back it down again now, obviously, to go in the 850 class, just like what you guys are planning on doing.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough class. I mean, you know,
it's definitely.
Well, that's what you wanted.
There was Chris. Chris was a 850 almost every day, 851, 850, whatever in the 850 range. I think John Dawson,
mhm.
name in the Malibu, he was in the 850 range too.
Yeah, anything automotive.
The 860, yeah. I mean, it's tight. And then now you got Chris. I mean, not Chris. Jason. Jason's gone a little quicker now. You know, it's going to be a lot tighter this year, I think.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is going to become, you know, a bracket race. I mean, you know, like a permanent dial bracket race.
Yeah, 850 index class.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. I mean, I went in there and, you know, I had no test passes. I was more worried about, you know, losing the motor. And, you know, my buddy tells me, hey, what's the goal? You know, Monday came and he's like, what's the goal today? Like, what number do you want? I go, I don't know. As long as it's in the 8-second range, I'm packing up and, you know, and I went down the track. I went at 865 or something, and we loaded up and left. And that was like the goal. Anything 870 or better, I didn't care about winning as long as I made it to Friday. I'm sure, you know, all the other guys say the same thing. It's you get there, yeah, you want to try to get, you know, in the top 3, but it's really tough.
Yeah, you know, I never really gave that a lot of thought, because if you go there and you put down a pass and you want to go 850, when do you say uncle
Yeah,
and head to the next track? I mean, you can't put 100 passes on in a day.
No. I mean, you can. There's guys that do it, you know, especially if you're in the top, you know, and you're number one, you know, from day 1 to day 3, and now day 3 you're having issues. Shit, you're in first place. You want to try to make another pass to try to get that 850 run, you know. So you'll have guys that'll do that. You know, I didn't. I just wanted to make it to Friday. I didn't care about that. And then I ended up. I actually did pretty well. I was surprised. I started off like in 5th or 6th place, and I ended up in 3rd by the end of the week. So it was pretty awesome. There's a lot of, you know, guys who tell you I was more worried about the racing part as opposed to the driving, because I spent so much time driving this car around on the street. I wasn't worried about that. I was, you know, since I had the engine issues, I was more worried about making passes. So, you know, there's a lot of things that come up. You know, I had the first day of the drive, I take off. I'm from Florida. I've never been in the Midwest. You know, my buddy is navigating, and I'm with another group, another guy that I race with in NMRA in True Street, and we've never done this before. And I think we leave the gas station, and you know, we're supposed to make a right, and we make a left, and next thing you know, we're 3 miles off the route already from the get-go. You know, it's like, oh shit, and we turn around and take off. We're cruising down, and then, you know, 10 miles into the run, my car loses fuel pressure, and I end up on the side of the road. I'm like, oh.
You know, there's a little thing worth talking about. You know, people say that the problems that everybody seems to have, always seem to revolve around a couple things, one of them being fuel pumps. What kind of fuel pump did you have that gave you a hard time?
I have a MagnaFuel. I have twin MagnaFuel inline. The biggest inline fuel pump they make is a 4303. And I actually had them rebuilt before going on drag week, just for good measure. But
they're externals, right?
What happened? Yeah, they're externals. And I run one, you know, all the time, and the second one comes on at the track at a certain boost level. And I've never, you know, I drive here in Florida on the street. I've never had an issue. And then here, I'm in drag week, and boom, you know, it dies on me. I sat there for like 5 or 10 minutes. I crank the car over, it turns on again, and I keep going. You know, and it did it to me twice. I want to say in the beginning of the week, and then I switched over. I run on E85, and my ECU has a flex fuel sensor. So at the beginning I ran on pump gas, and then I realized when I put the car on E85, the fuel pumps wouldn't overheat. So I ended up running the rest of the week on E85, and I never had the problem again.
There's another stupid question. What kind of mileage did you get on E85?
I get like 15 and a half. Around there, 15 and a half, 14 and a half, depending. It's not that bad. I still haven't even had the car tuned for the drivability on the street. I still haven't had a chance to even mess with that yet. So it's actually doing pretty good just the way it's set up now. Fuel pumps is one. Valve train is another one. That's another thing I was worried because this new motor, I put a solid roller in it. I switched from a hydraulic to a solid roller. And I've never, I've always ran a hydro roller. There's basically no maintenance. Now you got a solid roller, you got a valve, big springs and solid roller lifters, and I've never dealt with any of that. And I was so worried. I was worried about that too. Those are the two main things in drag week, that'll kill you. So I was really worried about that. But no, it did fine. It did well. It was just a fuel pump and a radiator cap on the last day, and my drag radial. I caught a flat on my drag radial, like 50 miles away from the last track.
You drove the drag radials the whole time?
Oh yeah, I ran no trailer.
Ooh.
Same tires, all the whole trip.
That's what Mike was talking
Guy's
about.
my hero.
Yeah,
See, that guy with a set of balls. I like him.
I was so worried. I had so much. I didn't even think about a trailer because I had all those engine issues beforehand. There were talks about running a trailer, but I was just, I had those problems with the motor. I just didn't. I said, the hell with it.
Did you trailer the car up there, or did you drive it from Florida all the way up there?
No, I trailered it.
Right.
I trailered it up.
Did you overheat it all?
That's a big drive. No, I ran 180, 185.
Amazing.
The whole trip. Yeah, no problem.
Do you have some kind of crazy radiator or no?
No, it's just a regular. I think I put a dual bypass radiator in it from Northern Racing, I think is the name of the company, and a Mazier electric water pump. That's it.
Ooh.
And a Ford factory electric fan from a Contour, a dual electric fan from a Contour.
Nice.
That's all it has. Nothing crazy.
There again, that factory. Remember that factory thing? They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
They got their shit together.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was talking to somebody. It might have been another drag week guy, and he said, "Look, I used the Mark 8 fans. Might have been Matt. Can't remember who it was, but they're fantastic.
Flow a lot.
Yes.
Those flow a lot more air than what I have. I've actually considered switching, even though I don't have an overheating problem, but I'm still worried about this year. How they're probably gonna put us real close to Chicago on one of the routes, I would think. And in Chicago, there's a bunch of traffic.
Yeah.
So that might be a true test there on people's cooling system.
Now, did you still run a factory water pump as well, or just the electric period?
No, I used to quite a while. I think back in 2013, I switched over.
Okay.
Factory water pump to an electric.
Okay.
And I always ran that all the time.
Okay.
But it did good. It's an air-to-water intercooler system. It has a big front mount. The air-to-water intercooler's in front of the radiator, behind the bumper. For the rules in street race, you have to have the intercooler and the water tank has to be forward of the firewall.
Yes.
My normal setup is a big 7.5 gallon water tank in the trunk. So obviously with all the engine issues, I didn't notice that in the rules. And that last week we had to somehow figure out how to fit a small tank in the engine bay. So I had a good friend of mine that does trailers. He made me a small. I think it ended up being like 3.5 gallons inside of the engine bay. And I ended up wrapping it with the air conditioning insulation so it wouldn't sweat so much. Because now you have this thing, this water tank with ice.
Yeah.
In front of the tire, and it sweats, and now it's going to get on your tires. It's one of those things where it's a little. I was worried all the time about that, but it didn't sweat after we wrapped it.
Well, Mike's going to have that for his Diet Coke, but
it works good for beers too.
Yeah, I don't think we should advocate that.
Probably not.
It's all right.
So the air to water side of things, ice at the track and just running an air to water exchange system for just street driving, and it was okay.
Yeah, it did fine. All it does is the inlet temps get to ambient or a little bit over ambient. I think they get to like 120, 130, but when you're driving on the street, you're not on boost, you're not on anything. That doesn't affect anything in the.
Yeah, you don't need to put anything in it.
well, Mike was saying that too, because when you're on the street, you're just driving. You know,
Yeah.
you're not pressing the engine.
Hey, you're just cruising.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing games like these guys doing trailer burnouts and stuff. I'm not, because of my luck, that's when my shit will break.
Yeah.
When I'm doing something stupid. That's when it'll happen.
That's true, and these guys do it all the time. I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that. Terrified. You know, it's a great. I love Drag Week. It was my first one, and now I'm hooked, and now I want to do it again and again, and I look forward to the following year. You know.
All right, so are you all registered up for this one then?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. Boy, you realize how many people are in this class, Tom?
A lot.
Yeah.
This is...
That's what you were always saying, though. That's
Last year it was 40. I think last year it was like 40 or 45 cars. I would say this year is probably going to be more.
Mike wants rules and competition, so
Class.
I do want rules in competition. I absolutely do. But it's going to be a lot of competition. I want to point out that the guy sitting to my left here is the guy that said, we're winning.
okay.
We are going to win.
Okay.
But isn't he the navigator too?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go right. No, it was left.
Well, we're going to find out.
We are going to find out.
It's tough. The directions are a little off, what I noticed. Last year, the first day, we had a detour on our route on the first day, and it threw a bunch of people off. It threw me off. It threw us off. I mean, I parked in a corner, and I shut off the car, and I just sat back and like, I can't. I don't know where we're going right now. And you see cars, a group of cars will pass us, and they'll be like with their hands in the air, like, where the fuck are we going? And then they'll turn around and pass the other way. You're like, who do we follow? You
Yeah,
know?
that's great because you got one guy, but he's like, we're going to follow that guy. What hames if that guy's lost? Now you got to train
Then
the
you're all
idiots all
lost,
following
yeah.
the lost guy.
Exactly. That's what happened to me. I had like 8 cars behind me at one point, and I tell my buddy, I'm like, man, I hope we're going the right way because we got like 10 cars behind us right now. You know, so it was like maybe a 10 or 15 mile detour. It was a big one. And here in Florida, you get a construction detour. It's really only a couple blocks.
Yeah.
So
I still can't
I
get.
follow this detour, and I'm like, we're going the wrong way. We're doing something wrong. So it was pretty bad. It was that was a pretty bad. The first day was pretty bad. The rest of the week wasn't so bad. It was actually pretty straightforward. But when you have stuff like that happen, it throws you off. It throws everybody off.
I just can't comprehend people having trouble with directions.
Oh, we'll see then.
I mean, look.
You're looking at a paper.
Well,
You're looking at a paper that they're telling you where to go. So
I did that for the
MapQuest.
first 15 years of my job.
well, that's part. Let me ask you a question, Alex. How old a fellow are you?
39.
39. Well, he should have paper maps.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when a paper map was it.
That's all you had.
Yeah.
When it was amazing that you could actually
I still have them.
You could get a printout from MapQuest, and it was like, oh, this thing told me I got to turn in 2.4 miles. I never had that shit before.
But then again, there's always a detour, and you're like, oh, damn it,
Well, it's not always a detour. They had one last year that they didn't know about.
Uh-huh.
They're not going to look for places with
Well, don't
detours.
forget too. What Alex said is like he's in Florida, where he is.
Yeah,
I mean,
detour's nothing.
a detour is nothing. There could be some shit out there that's like a little crazy.
How many cornfields we got to go through this
You know what's
time?
fucked up? Tom is the cocky one here, not me.
True. Well, because he's your navigator, so you can just drive.
He can't even see. How's he going to drive? Fucking idiot.
I forgot about that one.
My contacts are pretty good now.
You can't see at night.
Sure, I can.
Yeah, okay.
Follow one of the veterans,
Oh, there we go.
Drag Week veteran.
Tracking device
That's what we're going to do this year.
on a blowgun and shoot it right onto somebody's car when they're driving away and just tag them.
That's it.
I say,
Perfect.
Mike followed the 18-year-old chick in her Camaro. That'll get you there. No.
Tiny.
Yeah, it's great. You mean, I pulled over and you have like guys stop and be like, "You okay? You need help?" Everybody wants to stop and help you, and you have to constantly be with a thumbs up, unless you really need something. We even pulled over to help out somebody. I can't remember who it was. An alternator bolt broke out of their motor.
We got FUD for that.
They were stranded. Yeah. And then we couldn't find one, and all of a sudden these guys from Denmark, I think it's Denmark, they pulled up in a big green Impala with a trailer in the back, and the guy had like a bunch of bolts back there. And we're like, "Do you have this bolt?" And, "No, hold on, let me look." And 5 minutes later, he comes back, and here's the bolt, same exact bolt for the alternator for that motor.
Wonder if those are the Swedish guys. They helping everybody?
He's the Swedish guys. It could be the Swedish guys. I could be wrong.
They're helpful fellows.
They certainly are.
That's like the third time we've heard about them helping somebody.
Yeah.
That's why they come.
Oh no, those guys are awesome.
We got to have them on.
Everybody's awesome. Those guys, everybody wants to help out. Even if, I'm number 3 and the number 4 guy that's right behind you that's trying to beat you, if you have an issue, he comes up, anybody, it doesn't matter who it is. Everybody's just trying to get to Friday. Friday is the goal.
PJ said he can put us in
Everything else
contact.
is just extra.
Well, my goal is much like your goal. I want to finish. I want the car to run well. I want to finish.
Right.
I'd like to have all my numbers, I think being conservative, I think, sub 870 or better every pass should be pretty easy.
You're crazy.
I know you're awful confident, Tom.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a bracket race. I don't even see what the fuck is so hard about this.
Well, you do have, I don't know when your car is going to be ready, but you do have Sunday, registration day. It's like if you get early enough to register, you'll have plenty of time to test the car there that day. They have a big test and tune session on Sunday.
Well, see, here's the other side to this. Like what you had happen, you said you did some work and then you had a problem. Oh, you had your fuel pumps rebuilt and then you had a problem with them.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for stability, but to a point. You want to make sure something's stable. So you got to get just putting a motor in and going is never good. Never good.
No.
So,
I'm telling you, man, I was freaked out. I was like, I'm going to be stranded in a cornfield now because I lost oil pressure.
Yep, and new parts and rebuilt parts aren't always good parts. I've been bid, God, more times than I want to think by a brand new part.
Right.
Because you don't know if it's stable. So I plan on doing a lot of testing before we go there. But I'd say like at the first event, it's just going to be, it should be business as usual, I hope, to get a pass down. Figure out what the air's like, figure out how the track is, and make a pass. I would think.
That's it.
You guys were saying that you were gonna. You have your car over here in Florida, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Coast.
Oh, nice. And you gonna. You said you were planning on running it here at PBIR, maybe?
Well, that's probably the best bet. We can get a lot accomplished down there. I think it's probably great. It'll probably be warmer, which if anything is a good test.
Sure.
Because if it's going to be warmer there, I think that's a good place to test.
A period show is going to get rained out or something.
Yeah, and we have the experience there with Howard from all the different Corvettes in his own personal car. So I think it's a good place to test. I think it'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you should let me know. I'm like 15 miles away from that track. That's where I go testing.
That's
I
sweet.
Go there or Orlando.
Well, I'm sure when we're going, we're going to let everybody know so they can come there and laugh. Watch whatever goes wrong. So that's fine.
I'll take video and post it on the fan page.
Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think what else we could ask you about. It already told us stories about neat shit that happened. What are you looking forward to this year? Same deal? Get through it? How fast you want to go? Are you looking to win?
I would like to. I'm not really going to push it that hard, if it runs what it runs.
Okay.
I need to go back out testing because now, same boost level I was running last year, it's doing like a 841 now as what I was running before. So I might have a good chance. I don't know. You never know. You know what I mean? I could say, yes, I'm going to try to go 850s, but,
But last year when you were running this thing, it was on kill to go 860, right? Like that's as fast as it would kind of go.
Oh, I really didn't know what it was going to run. Like we just threw a tune in it, and I did that first test pass on Sunday, and I won an 880, and then the first day in competition, I won an 860, and it basically, I left it alone, and I went 860 the first day, 860 something the second day. The third day, I got after the 6 foot, and I went 854, and then the next 2 days, I went 860 something, and that's where I left it. I didn't want to keep, trying to push it. The last day, actually, when you get to the last day, you don't have to drive anymore. So there, I tried to get after it more, but all I did was spin tires. So then I backed it down again, and I ran another 860, and that was good for me. I was just happy I made it that far.
Gotcha.
Especially with all the stuff that happened, which is what they call that last week. right before Drag Week, I read somewhere, I think it's in the Drag Week page, they call it Hell Week. Because for some reason, you know, you think you have everything figured out, and all of a sudden that last week something pops up. With your car. They call it Hell Week. Just like there was another term, I think the first 20 miles of the first drive, they called it the Trail of Tears.
Yeah, everybody finds out. But you see, like, dude, you're Alex, you're a perfect example. You drive this thing on the street. You drive it, you know, probably on, you know, days just screwing around. You want to drive that car.
Yeah, drive it everywhere.
And Florida heat.
Right, so like you said.
I work in Miami.
Yeah, so like you said, you weren't worried about the car breaking because you use it all the time.
No. I wasn't worried about the driving part. I was more worried about the track part. Now, you know, I'm not. I think once I get it, do a couple of maintenance items, it should be okay. I'm gonna drive it. I'll probably test it a couple times, and that's about it.
All right, you gonna bring a trailer this year, or are you gonna go the same way?
You know, I had this conversation with my buddy and my girlfriend too. And everybody's asking me, are you going to take a trailer this year? And I'm like, you know, after not running one the first time, I feel weird running one the second time. Because I got through it the first time without one. You know? So I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to run without a trailer again.
Okay.
I was on a skeleton crew. I brought my 35-quart Yeti, you know, my luggage, my buddy's luggage, a 5-gallon tank, a bag of tools, an air compressor, and the plug kit, which I forgot. It didn't go in the car with the truck. Right, which was another story. You know, we got the flat tire, pulled over to the side of the road, and now we're standing there. I got the car jacked up, and it's like, okay, we got the compressor, but we don't have the plug kit. And I'm looking around like, oh, shit, there's no more drag weekers around, and the sun's going down, and there's no freaking light anywhere. And all of a sudden, these guys pull up out of nowhere. They were lost, too. They're like, oh, we got lost, so we went to get something to drink down the street. What do you need? And I'm like, do you have a plug kit? Yes. Yes! You know, we got the tire plugged up and made it the last leg. And then the next day, I drove to Jegs in the morning. Jegs was like 20 miles away, and I ended up buying a set of drag radios.
Nice.
That's
so
nice.
This year, I'm going to remember to bring my plug kit.
All right, well, like...
I might do a basket. In the parachute mount. Like,
oh, yeah.
Parachute and maybe put a basket.
That was my thought.
Yeah, that was my thought. You know what the problem's going to be, though, is that that would be the only way to carry anything, because I'm telling you, there's no room in that car. There's nothing.
The vet.
Yeah, there's nothing. So
Part two, there isn't that much room either. I mean, the vet's even less. But that would be, I mean, there's a lot of guys that run the basket.
Yeah.
My worry is, you know, how much weight can they hold back there, you know?
Yeah, I worry about the same thing. And, you know, we talked about, I'm sure we're going to end up with a trailer. It's probably how it's going to be because we're talking about bringing fuel and everything else.
Oh, we saw that one Pontiac that had the drag slicks on the mount behind the car, and, you know.
Yeah. If I had trunk room or backseat room or just a place to just throw shit in a car, I'd probably go that route. Right. But I just don't see how it's possible with that particular car. I just don't see it.
No, yeah, you need a trailer. I mean, there's pros and cons. The trailer's cool because you put everything in the trailer, and when you get to the track, you just unhook the trailer and get ready to make a pass. You
know, one thing I worry about, and I got to bring this up because I'm sure Tom's seen this a million times too, and I just saw a thing about it on Facebook where a guy's car was stolen.
Yeah.
His Camaro was stolen. Did you see that on Facebook, Tom?
I did not.
Now, you got to look at Facebook more than I do.
I didn't see it.
Was that the Camaro and trailer or no? Just Camaro?
Yeah, I think they said it was a car, a trailer. It was like everything. They took everything. And I know from the dirt races, there were certain places that, you know, and not bad places, but just people would follow this stuff around.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, they look for things to rob. And that's something that kind of bugs me. So I don't know, you know, how secure like the hotel events are, you know, or the hotels are like in the area. Do they have people watching? You know, do you need a guy who's like a spotter who like stays up half the night and watches the car? I mean, I'd hate to think.
Well, I will tell you this: the most of the hotels that you stay at is filled with drag week guys, and not everybody shows up at the same time. You might get there early, but I remember one day I woke up at 5:30 or something in the morning. I went outside, and Jeff Lutz had just pulled up.
Ooh.
So there's always people, there's some hotels, there's guys hanging out in the parking lot the whole night, I mean, it's just, I wasn't worried about security because there's so many guys there, so many cars. I mean, I don't see that being an issue. I have a tracker on my car. I have like a GPS tracker that I use, but I don't think there's a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of
heard of anything, but
and it's usually Tom is the cynical guy, who looks for the bad shit and everything. But for me, at my perspective, I know this exact story, more than a few times. All this stuff has happened, and while I understand what you're saying, that there's a lot of people at the hotel and everything else, that is kind of the best time to do something like this, because there's a million people around, and you kind of, unless you know the actual car that you're looking at, you don't know if it's the guys that own it, you don't know if they're working on it, you don't know if they got a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
The best way to hide something is out in the open, and that's kind of what bugs me. But I'm gonna take preventative measures.
Sure.
So maybe booby traps, something it'll be bad.
Take the battery out of the car.
You can chain it down, chain the car down.
Yeah, we'll figure some stuff out. We're gonna bring the New Jersey out that way. Make sure that nothing happens.
Bring the club.
Yes, landmines. Got all kinds of stuff.
Landmines.
All right. Well, I mean, look, Alex, I appreciate you calling in. Anybody you want to, I hate to use the term, but give a shout out to or whatever?
Yeah, my buddy Willie Lujan, he's the one that's helped me a lot with the car. Bill at Bullseye Power helped me out with the turbo selection. And my tuner, Errol, at TPS here in Palm Beach, he's helped me out. My girlfriend, especially, for putting up with all this bullshit.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it, man.
All right, good deal. Cool. Well, look, like you and everybody else, well, one way or the other, we'll see you out there. I don't know if it's going to be pretty, but we'll see you out there.
Definitely. Palm Beach. Let me know if you guys go to Palm Beach. I'll go.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, keep an eye on all that stuff, and I got your phone number, so I'm going to put you in the phone too. The best thing about this, and I don't want to tip everybody off, but all these drag weekers that are calling in now, I got their personal cell phone, so if I get stuck, I can text them. All right, man. Well, thanks, Alex. We'll be talking, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Thanks, man.
Definitely.
Bye.
Oh,
what?
I just hit end on one call, and both calls ended.
Oops,
something broke.
He might have left.
Maybe.
Bro. Was it Fudd?
Another good guy.
No. Yeah. It's good.
Are you all right?
But now, Mike, you're seeing...
You're like quiet. You're like...
Mike, you're starting to get suckered into the camaraderie here, though.
I don't have a problem with the camaraderie. I don't. I have... this is a tough thing for me, because I am not the bastard that I play on the radio show.
The curmudgeon?
No, I'm not. I'm the guy that holds the door open for old people.
I do that too.
I wave people past.
Me too.
I'm
the best.
Even the Prius?
I would certainly stop to help somebody. I mean, I would. But by the same token, I don't know if put in the situation that I was having a problem and somebody else was having a problem, then it's every man for himself.
Sure.
I mean, that's something like it. If I'm having an issue, I'd love to help you,
right?
But I'm all fucked up myself.
Trying to say, if you both got flats and you only have one plug left, it's yours.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like we're not even gonna. There isn't even gonna be a discussion on that
silly.
One. That's my plug. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like I said, I really am looking forward to it. I really am, for a lot of reasons. But I don't know, Tom. Sounds tough, buddy.
I don't see how. I'm still wondering what's so tough about it.
All right.
I guess we'll see.
Anything else from you collective nitwits or no? No?
I can't find the stolen car thing.
Yeah, it was all over Facebook.
Yeah.
I saw it. It
Jerry from
crossed
Anthony posted it, I think.
Yeah, it crossed my timeline thing or news feed or whatever a whole bunch of times.
Yeah,
so
but the Facebook murder is all over everything now.
Yeah, yeah, that probably knocks it all back. I don't know. I just worry about that shit.
I'll find it.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week.
Yep.
See ya.